I Don't Know Yet is not affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. The content put forth are the thoughts, opinions, and experiences of the host and guests. It is meant to be suggestive only and is in no way a reflection on how to work the steps in any fellowship or how to work any other recovery program. Okay, let's get centered, get connected, and shoot the shit and see where it goes. So
Can't
we'll do
wait.
a little prayer. I'm going to say something. If you want to add something, feel free, okay? God, creator, universe, I invite you into this room with Gord and I. I ask that you fill our thoughts and guide our words. Help us to have a real, honest conversation about some things that have really helped us on our journeys and in turn might be able to help some of our fellows. Amen.
God, make me a channel of thy peace. Where there's hatred, I may bring love, and so on and so forth. Please help me be sure that this is your message and not mine, because that is important. Amen.
Amen. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. I can't believe we haven't done this before.
I know. I don't want to blow up your ego too quickly, too fast, but I do have to tell you, I'm really excited about this one because when I was broken, I first got to the rooms, right? And like my home group, I saw you like right away, and like there's still some core people that are there, but you were always someone when I didn't even understand what I was looking for, you had it. And it took me a long time to understand. And I think that it has a lot to do with the topic that we're going to be discussing today, is that you really emulated that you were not just talking the talk, that you were walking the walk. And you were somebody that just had this aura of working the shit out of it in every area as hard as you can. And you stood out to me, and I've looked up to you for a really long time. So I'm really excited that you're here.
Giving me goosebumps.
I think it's really important that people understand the impact that they can make on other people, right?
It's very nice to hear.
Yeah.
You're right. I have to be very careful with that kind of stuff because it's not me. I just show up. That's it. I show up and I have a lot of people that say, oh, give yourself more credit than that. No, I will not. I understand what they're saying. I understand. Yes, I've worked hard. Yeah, okay. I've worked hard. I had to work hard. I made a mess. I made a mess and I had to clean it up.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have done it without the help of some others and without the help of my higher power. And people like you, the people that were coming up in this thing, you know, and you know, listening, being there for me to help.
Right.
Even, you know, I love working with people, new people.
Yeah.
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 That's really cool. I love speaking, and that's why I like speaking. I don't know if you know, I used to be the chair for Southern Alberta in, you know, and without naming anything, but you know, we used to do the hospitals and institutions. So I got to travel around Alberta and speak at treatment centers and detoxes and facilities. Cool. It was very cool. But it was so much more than just a really cool experience. And I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't until years later when people approached me at a convention or they approached me in a meeting or a situation in public, you know, or recovery days down at Princess Island Park or wherever it was, whenever it was. And they approached me and said, I saw you when I was in detox in Southern Alberta down there. And it wasn't even in my own town. Like it was somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you really affected me. And I go home that night and I thank God. Thank you. That's really cool that we got to help someone, you know?
Yeah. I was on H&I in town for, and honestly, it's one of my favorite ways to be of service.
Me too.
Is to speak at treatment centers, because it brings me back there, right? I haven't done a single episode on here without crying. I cannot tell my story without crying but like it brings me back to how broken I was, right? And it's just like so important that I never forget how bad it was. I remember the first time I got asked to speak at the detox center that I went to. I'd spoken at so many treatment centers, spoken at so many groups. Like I'm a decent public speaker anyways.
Yeah, you are.
So I thought I had no issues. And halfway towards this detox center, I started having a panic attack.
Really?
And I called my sponsor for a little bit. And then I actually called the sponsee that had been 12-stepped for a little bit. And I'm like, I'm freaking out. And I didn't actually know the root of where it came from. But it was because it was the first time I was entering the walls of the place I was suicidal in. And it was like a huge... It was weird. It's weird to think about and talk about, but to actually be there was a whole different ball game. And I literally, I said to the chairperson, I'm like, I can't go first. Like, I need to pray and ask for some courage. and God told me to use it, right? And so like the first third of my share was just talking about how I was feeling about being in the building I wanted to die in.
Yeah.
Right. And it ended up being a really beautiful thing. And someone ended up seeing me months later and mentioning that, and it's very
Isn't that cool?
Impactful. Definitely is a really beautiful experience to see God's work right in front of your face. Yeah.
But you like having no idea that God had a plan moving in the background. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
I love what you just said. That's amazing. I felt that way when I went back to detox too.
Right?
Because that was the place where I was broken most. I spent my spent my 18th anniversary, wedding anniversary in detox. And I called her and I said, I'm so sorry that I'm here right now.
Yeah.
You know, holy, it's getting me choked up too.
Yeah.
And she said, are you kidding me?
So
this is the best gift you could have ever given me. And I'm happy to tell you that we celebrated 26 years of marriage this July, just
Hell yeah,
on the 11th. And it's amazing. She's a wonderful human being, and I love her with all my heart. But there was a time where she didn't want to be around me, and that was a good choice.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Look at us now, though. Doing what we can to carry the message and put everything in God's hands. When we do that, things go very well for us. Sometimes I slip up and I like to take the reins, and that's always where things seem to go awry. I'm very aware that I'm a fallible human. Let's put it that way.
Me too. Me too.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, I think we're going to talk about principles, right? And
yeah.
In all our affairs. And well, I don't know if everyone understands the depth of that, right? I'm not sure I understand the depth of that, to be honest with you. I'm still learning about it. But again, with time and practice, I get a deeper vision. I learn a bit more about it. You know, we get to see God's workings that we just talked about in behind us. See, I told you I'm a hand talker.
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it.
But excuse me. When we speak, and then people months later get to come and say those things to us, and it's really warm and it feels great, and we thank God, and it's wonderful. Take that, 7 layers separated. Take that to an employee, someone that works for me and has for 5 years now, which is, a few years after I sobered up. And have him look you in the eyes and say, I can't believe what you've done with this place. I didn't think this business was going to last. I was just hanging on until it was over. And look at us now, man. Thank you for spending the time with me and showing me how to do this job and being there for me. That's an employee.
That's beautiful.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I get emotional not just about my family. I get emotional about my life today. And I'm okay with that.
Hell yeah.
this is getting choked up over gratitude, right?
Yep.
I'm still a guy. I'm still a man's man. I'm from I'm from the late 1900s. Uh, so I don't like to cry, So I try and choke them back, yeah, and I do pretty good at it most times. But I do get choked up, and you'll hear it in my voice. Um, I I'm so grateful
Mm.
for this life. I'm so grateful that just in trying to do the right thing every day, I'm failing lots,
Mm-hmm.
but trying,
Right.
really, really trying. Perseverance, a principle.
Right.
Um, persevering. I get exposed to realizing how many people God's helped through me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think Principles in All My Affairs is all about.
I love that.
What else do you love? What's your favorite principle? Tell me. I'm interested.
Oh man.
There's lots, right?
Mine, two different ones. So my favorite one to work at, and then there's my favorite one.
Cool.
So my favorite one to work at is discipline.
Nice.
My whole life I've sucked at discipline. And when I was desperate, 1 through 9, no problem. I needed to do whatever it took, right? And then when I got the promises of 10, and I started to coast like everyone does, which is why the warnings and resting on your laurels is in there. But I had to constantly work on discipline, and I get it, and then I lose it, and then I get it, and I lose it. But the more that I try, the more consistent it gets. So I like really working on that one constantly. My favorite principle is faith. Hands down.
Nice.
Like I never thought I could believe in a higher power. And I love talking about that in treatment centers and stuff. Like the thing that I never thought I could believe in is the thing today that I can't live without.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting. Actually, I'm going to be recording the finale for this season with Chase. He was on the first episode, and now he's going to be on the last one, talking about his in being able to be around the material and around the recovery stuff. He's actually learned a lot just in being behind the scenes. And so that's really helped him grow, which has been great. But our journey last year, there was some circumstances around, he had a dream for his life, and that's where he wanted to go, and he made that decision. So it seemed we were connecting temporarily, and he was always really great about setting expectations and being honest and open communication, and all that was great. So my understanding is that there was going to be kind of an expiry date, but in a very healthy way, because there was so much openness there. So I got through so much fear last year that I didn't even know was possible with God, and practicing faith and really understanding, like, stop worrying about what happened, stop worrying about what's going to happen. Lean into joy is the phrase that I used a lot last year.
I love that.
Just lean into joy, being able to be present, being able to understand. And it was very hard, right? But I finally found enough faith in my life. And that was a great example, but I use it in other areas of, we're either going to, and this is last year, we're either going to end up together or we're not.
Right.
Either he's going to be the love of my life, we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, or he's going to be the healthiest relationship I've ever had to date, and he's going to teach me everything I need to know about the person waiting for me. So I understood that as long as I was following my ideals, practicing my principles in all my affairs, and trying to be the best version of myself that I can, and allowing God to mold me, either way didn't matter. I had faith that I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be, and no matter what happened, I was going to be okay. And that was a different kind of faith that I acquired, faith meant something very different to me in my first 3 years. And being able to really understand that as long as I'm doing the fucking best I can, I might not always be okay, but I know everything's going to be okay. If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
What's your favorite one?
Well, my favorite principle's always been humility, because I lacked it so much throughout my life. And I found such reward in finding it, in being humble. And as I think as I grew in this thing and as I became more humble, as in the 12 by 12, it talks about it. Excuse me. It talks about, seeking to do God's will naturally. And as that started to happen, I, I still loved being humble. I still tried to always be humble because I was a very arrogant, insecure guy. Arrogance that covered insecurity,
Okay.
right? And and probably that's what my anger was used for too. So uh, humility or finding out how to be humble in the moment with people was a gift, a real big gift, and eventually it ended up being the driver for a lot of my growth.
Mm-hmm.
But just recently, I've switched my favorite principle.
Okay.
And today, I can honestly tell you that my favorite principle, we talked about it earlier, is brotherly love.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't mind, actually, I will read why I love it because it's here. Brotherly love is showing kindness and compassion towards others without expecting anything in return.
Mm. Yes.
Now, in itself, that speaks to humility,
Mm-hmm.
right? But more so, what I'm finding is I need more of this because I still get angry. You know what I mean? I still get frustrated, annoyed. The hardest place that I have to work principles in all my affairs is in my truck while I'm driving.
Ah, yeah.
Because don't you know, everyone drives like idiots and they're all out to get me, right?
Yep.
But
That's a very addict sentence to say, by the way.
oh man, I know the isms are killing me. Also work though.
Yep.
I get upset when people don't do what I need them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm controlling things. And I need to show up in more situations with brotherly love, with compassion for people, right? Doesn't mean I have to be a doormat. It doesn't mean that I can't tell people
Mm-hmm.
where they've let me down. But what it does mean is that I show up with a certain amount of unconditional love. And trust me, I'm in the construction and restoration industry. I'm not going to be telling everyone, hey, I unconditionally love you. It's just not going to go very well. But I can show up with compassion.
Mm.
What's going on, guy? Why are you 3 days behind schedule?
Mm.
When we promise these people they'd be back in their home today, and now I have to delay them.
Right.
What's going on here? This isn't
Seeking
okay.
to understand.
This isn't okay, but tell me what's going on so I can understand. Exactly.
Yeah.
Compassionate enough to care to try and understand. I actually give work to very few people that I know from the fellowship because I'm really not. I'm very careful.
I understand.
I protect the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that go bad a few times, right? So
You
I'm
gotta
very
be careful who you let into your circle when it's a different circle.
Exactly.
I understand.
So, but there are a couple people that I allow into that circle because they have showed time and time again integrity and love, perseverance, discipline.
They walk the walk.
They walk the walk.
And practice the principles in all their affairs.
So now when I yell at those people, I walk away and feel pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right. But I am human. Brotherly love exists. It's just I make mistakes. And like you say, we do step 10s. We go back. We correct the wrongs. We move on and we try and change behaviors. I mean, that's all we can do, right? I actually love working with really principled people because they get it.
Yeah.
We can make mistakes.
I made one yesterday.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, neat.
So, I like to think that I work a pretty solid program. There's always room for improvement. Obviously, some of my defects are just I still act in sometimes without any knowledge, right? Which is why constant 10s are so important. But I caught myself being fallible yesterday, and it was what was really beautiful for me was the speed at which I realized I fucked up,
Neat.
which is something that I haven't really experienced a lot of. So it was interesting. So I'm struggling with my shoulder. I have a lot of pain and stuff going on, and I've sought out a couple of things, and I was given 2 choices to move ahead with, neither of which are super ideal. So my very wonderful boyfriend offered me a third option to go get another opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The speed at which I shut down and immediately got short with him and didn't even really talk to him after that, it was crazy to me. We were talking on the phone. I'm like, here's where I'm at. I don't like either one. I guess I'm just going to have to do this. And he's like, why don't you try that? And I was like, okay, yeah. Well, I guess I have to take more time off work then. Okay. Yeah, I'll just call her right now. And I hung up and I sat there and I'm like, I was just a super dick to my boyfriend who's trying very lovingly to help me find a solution for my health.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? And I realized that I have, and I don't really understand why I haven't had an opportunity to sit. I'm meeting my sponsor tomorrow and I thought I'd ask him about it. But it was just interesting because, so like, I'm very defensive of my doctor because he's been the one person that has helped me through several other issues I've had in my life, whereas 5 or 6 other different people in different areas let me down. So I'm like, this is my guy. Like, this is the guy who's helped me. How dare you say that his opinion might, I felt it was an attack on me. It was just the weirdest thing. I've never experienced that. So I hung up and then I called this other girl to set up an appointment with her. And I sat down and I prayed for about 5 minutes. And then I had to call him back and be like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I reacted. I've worked incredibly hard. Discipline. I've worked incredibly hard in my recovery at not reacting, being able to learn how to pause, pray, proceed, and respond to life. And that was a snap reaction. And I was wrong. And I will work on that. I think this is where it came from. I will discuss it with a pillar. But I don't want to wait any longer to tell you that I should not have talked to you that way. And it's not okay for me to talk to you that way.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I get it. I understand. I'm just trying to help you. We're cool. Thanks for acknowledging it. Right? Just the awareness of being able to be like, you fucked up. And being able to take that accountability and that responsibility. Right? And because I am with someone who is constantly trying to grow and become healthier themselves, there can be an open conversation there without it being an argument. Right?
Love it.
But it was just really cool because I haven't snapped like that in a while. So,
you know what I love about what you're talking about is because I've got those same types of things going on in the workplace, right? And usually when I snap, I can say, it's a whole bunch of things, but until I talk to my sponsor, I don't really recognize that it's fear of some sort. And I can tell you that I know for a fact it's always fear.
Always.
Of some sort.
Yep.
So in your scenario,
I'm here for it.
You've got this guy, right? That's your guy. He's your guy. And maybe you're defending him, or maybe.
Tell me.
Or maybe you're so tired of being in pain, and the guy that you have counted on your entire life isn't fixing you. Oh my God, what if I have to live with this for the rest of my life? If he can't fix me, no one will.
Maybe.
Neat, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to say but fear is the driving force. So where's the fear coming from? I found is always the case. For me, when I yelled at that principal guy, I broke it down with my sponsor, and eventually it became, I'm afraid that every time I have to reschedule this job, I am frowned upon and I look poorly in the eyes of the insurance company that's hiring me to do the work, and I may lose that account. Well, I don't want to lose an account.
Right.
But I also need to provide a quality product. And if that means delays, then that means delays. I don't want to run our business through fear. I've done that. It doesn't work. So once I can see the fear, I'm able to correct the behavior. I'm ready to be open to my God giving me answers like brotherly love.
Right.
Which has become my favorite principle lately because it's helped me with my anger. Neat, eh?
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
When you were talking about work, it was fascinating. There's a story that I really like that I tell often when it comes to working with resentment and anger, working against those, I guess. But it brought up something new that I haven't thought of before. So I'm very excited about this. So the Coles Notes version is that I work in the car industry, right? And I had a situation with a customer who was less than pleased with the inspection report that we provided him and thought that there was some dishonesty there. He was very angry and yelling at me significantly in front of other people. And so, I mean, I did everything that I could that I know to do in customer service. I just said, if you think there's an issue here, let's just retake the measurements. And human error happens. People are people. So why don't we just confirm exactly what we're talking about before anything else? And so there was a 1 millimeter measurement difference. So it was pretty much bang on. And the gentleman was not happy. F-bombed me a lot. And took off. And so because I asked these guys to go take second measurements, they came up to me after and they were like, what was that about? So I just kind of briefly ran them through the situation. I'm like, this guy just screamed at me and called me a bunch of names and said he was never coming back. And, you know, like the classic people that work behind the scenes, they were trying to defend my behalf, right? They were just like, this is why I can't ever work up there. I could never deal with those people. I'd punch them in the face. And they were angry for me. Yeah. And that was right around the time where I really started digging into tens. And I remember vividly because there was a huge shift in my reaction to life, became my response to life. And they're like, why aren't you more angry? And I'm like, because I'm not angry at all. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, do you have any idea how badly this guy's life must be going if he thinks it's okay to talk to a complete stranger like that? And they kind of like, I just gave myself goosebumps thinking about it again, because that was what God does for me, right? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, for all I know, this guy's dad just died, or maybe he just got some horrible news. Maybe he's struggling. Maybe he's suffering. Maybe he got diagnosed with, like, you just don't know what's going on in someone else's world. And while it's not okay that he treated me that way, anger is like someone handing you a pen. You choose whether you take it or not. I'm not taking the pen. He's clearly struggling. I feel bad for the guy. Yeah. That he thinks that it's okay to talk to someone that way. And they're just like, that's weird. And I was like, nope, that's recovery. I carried on with my day. But it's interesting that, so what brought up different for me is that it's so easy for, not all the time, but I'm working consistently and I'm constantly working on it and I'm asking for God's help with it. It's very easy for me to be able to let go of anger with strangers, but not always with coworkers. I have higher expectations of the people that I know. And I just realize now I can be super patient with somebody, but somebody else that I know a little bit, I get quite annoyed with a lot more quickly.
That's neat. That's something I need to
work on that.
About. Neat.
Yeah.
See? It's working right now.
Right?
We're hearing things that each of us need to hear.
Just because I know the name of your wife doesn't mean I know what's going on in your head and what you're struggling with. It's interesting. I have patience for people I know nothing about, but no patience for people I know very little about.
It's crazy, right?
Fascinating.
It's neat that, we know that guy's acting out in anger because we've done the same thing. And there's a reason. And now we have an education in growth, if you will, and we understand that there is a fear driving that man's anger. Because I want to say it's few and far between people that will just act that way because that's who they are. That guy got an inspection on a car, right? Which usually they're doing for insurance or to insure it in the province, or
no, this is just an oil change, right? Here's the status of your vehicle and what it needs.
Oh, weird.
Well, that can't possibly be right because I just did this 3 months ago. Well, I don't know what to tell you. This is what your car needs.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So maybe he's one of those guys. I don't know.
Maybe. But I mean, like, and here's the thing that, I try to teach my sponsees and stuff, right? Like especially, treatment girls. I'm sure it happens with men as well. But a lot of treatment girls struggle with gossip, somewhat bullying while in treatment, right? Sick people living with sick people. Like, it's shit's going to happen. But what really got me through treatment was when someone said, this person isn't rolling over and waking up thinking of ways to plot your demise for the day, right? Yeah. They're figuring out how to get through the day.
Yeah.
And how they might do that might be some survival techniques and coping strategies that may be negatively affecting on you.
Yeah.
Right? But most people don't wake up wanting to be miserable. It's a result of something else going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I was reminded of that.
Mm.
Remember last week when last week when I broke down on my
Last
Harley?
week.
Yeah.
Wait, no, you're right. Last week.
Last week, last Wednesday.
Yep.
I broke down on the side of the road. My Harley Davidson, just didn't want to go anymore. And my friend Alex, who I believe has been on your show a couple times, is laughing right now, and he wants to tell me that I should have bought a Honda, and I will laugh and give him my "I salute you" finger. But love you, Alex. But yeah, it broke down, and you happened to be driving by, which was really cool. You called me and said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've had better evenings, but yeah, I'll be fine. Do you want to do a step 10?" And what did I say to you? I don't really know if there's one to be done here. I mean, it's just my bike broke down. I called the towing company. I'm patiently waiting for them to show up. I've had a kind of a shitty week, but I'm smiling right now. It is what it is, right? But I appreciated the call. I appreciated the call so much. And then I think I texted you back, or it was a Facebook post or something, and I explained to people, I think that my creator needed to put me in a little time out, sit on the side of the road, and realize that most people are really good, because a lot of people pulled over and offered to help me. You called, and an old man pulled over 2 blocks up, because that was the best option to pull over for him, and then walked all the way back. I didn't see it happening until I saw him, and then I looked and saw his car, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I've got a tow truck on the way. It's all good." He's like, "It's hot though," because you remember we were in a heat wave.
Yep.
And he said, "Do you want to come and sit in my car? Got AC." And I'm like, "No, I'm okay," because I was fine, and it was getting to be evening. The temperature was coming down. It's not like I was in
It's like
36
7:30 or something. Yeah.
I was okay. But just the fact that he did that, and he wasn't the only one. There were several people that stopped, got out of their cars, walked back to the corner just to offer their assistance. Also, people that rolled their window down and said, "Are you okay? Do you need me to call anyone?" Including younger women, which surprised me. I have younger women as daughters, and it scares me a little bit that they might do that, because not everyone's good people, right? But just the fact that they would roll their windows down and make sure I was okay changed my view, and I needed that change. I needed that shift, because I find I get caught up, especially since all this COVID stuff and the division from anti-vaxxers and vaxxers and this and that. And I'm not taking a stance, by the way. I don't want to, that's not why I'm talking about that. But since that happened, I've seen a real shift in my thought process, and the way I'm able to pause when I get agitated, and it's kind of slipped away a bit, because I get more aggravated and more aggravated, because it seems to me like people upon people upon people are just shitty. And I did a step 4 and 5 with my sponsor. I did another set of steps, and one of my resentments was humanity.
Honestly, the way things are going, I understand where that comes from.
It's weird though, right? You resent all of humanity? And I'm like, well,
a lot of it.
Pretty much everyone I come into contact with these days.
Only everyone I ever meet every day. Yeah.
Which is
I get it.
It's so arrogant, right?
I get it. Yeah, I get it though.
Yeah, it's so arrogant though. And fortunately, I have a very patient sponsor. Thanks, Devin. But he got to show me where it was selfish, and it was just self-pity.
Right.
Really is what it is. I tell you something, man. 10 years ago, if you would have told me I was full of self-pity, I might have punched someone in the face.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or told you to go pound sand and left. But the more I grow, the more I realize self-pity drives a lot of what I do.
Yeah.
A lot. So brotherly love has become my favorite principle today. I hope that changes. I hope that I love another one later, because I learned some more.
Will.
You know what I mean?
I think you will. Yeah, I think we go through phases, right? And I think it's important. to be able to spend some time on having things happen in your life to get really good at one. And then once you get it, God will bring you the next thing, right?
Neat. Yeah.
What's really cool for me on my side of that experience. So I've always been somebody who tries to treat people the way I hope people would treat me. And I had a Facebook post pop up from a few years ago of like me driving on Deerfoot at 3 a.m. one day. There was a guy walking on the side of the road, right? And you have two choices. Is this guy going to murder me or is this guy needing help?
Yeah.
Right? And I ended up picking up this guy. He didn't speak very good English. He just needed to get to the closest hotel, which would have been a 4-hour walk, or for me, a 20-minute drive, right? And so I have these gut instincts. I have these gut feelings. I believe that's the universe or my higher power talking.
Intuition.
Right. Working with me on things. Sometimes I would I'll drive past something and be like, they're totally fine. Like I can see them on the phone. They're going to be fine. But every once in a while, these things come up. And so I'm driving. I'm going 75 or 80, green light ahead of me. I'm in the left lane. And I see this little black dot. I don't think anything of it. I get closer and closer. Oh, it's a guy on a motorcycle, right? And I'm just like, wait, it's pretty hot out. And not only did I turn to look, but I actually made sure there was no one. I took a good look and I was like, holy shit, I think that's Gord. Which I find fascinating because we live in a city of 1.5 million people.
Yeah.
What are the chances, right? It's not. And so I continued to drive for about 4 seconds. And then I was like, that's why because I don't actually have your phone number, I don't think.
No.
So I called you on Messenger.
Yeah.
And then I was like, are you on 14th right now? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, do you need me to turn around? Right. And then we chatted for a bit and you said that you were fine. And as soon as I got home, I immediately messaged you again. I'm like, it's fucking hot out. Do you want me to bring you some water? Are you hungry? I'll bring you food. I'll sit with you.
And that is the second thing that you have done for me, which is why I'm here today. Principles in all our affairs. I love that we're talking about that because I see you doing that. I was struggling at one point, and someone, was it you or you might have put up a post about the colored dots or something?
Colored hearts.
Yeah.
Here's what each color means. Be honest. And if you're not in a good place, I'll reach out to you.
And I wasn't.
You were not.
That
and you
day.
Posted that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you called you messaged me. And I just said, you know what? Hey, thanks. I think I can't even remember if I told you what was going on. I think I probably did to a certain degree.
I think you may have. I don't remember a super in-depth conversation. It may have been a surface level. I'm going through something, but I'll be okay. But I really appreciate it. I'd have to go back to be honest.
But the fact that you followed up, because there's a bunch of people, that have put that post up. And sometimes I'm good and I'll put a good heart or whatever it is, right? Because I like wasting a bit of time on Facebook every day, Yeah, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever a day in the evening. I like it. Or even on a break at work once in a while. But there's also people I've tested. And that's arrogant. I want to admit, I understand today that that's a bit arrogant.
I don't know if I would use the word arrogant. I mean, maybe tested is also I understand what you're saying because I need you, and I don't listen to what people say anymore. I listen to what people do.
Yeah.
I need you to continually show me who you are. I'm not interested in your telling me who you are. Show me who you are, and that'll dictate how much you're in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just honesty.
And I've put those, not things are terrible hearts, but I could use a friend type heart, and not gotten a single call. So the fact that you had reached out, I was very, very pleased and impressed with that. I've watched you grow, and it's been really cool to watch. And the exposure that we have to each other in the fellowships is fairly minimal. Let's be honest.
That's fair.
It's pretty minimal because today I don't spend a lot of time in all the extracurricular stuff that goes around those fellowships, right?
Yeah.
Because I have a family, and I have hobbies, and I have a beautiful life
that's been given to me. You a life
that's been given to me through grace, right? So, but there's been those couple times that you have affected me in a positive way. So thank you. I get to do this on your show. I looked at the camera so they know I'm serious. I love telling this on your show that you have affected me in a positive way. Thank you.
It's not me, it's God.
I know. I know.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I love people that put this thing in their life.
Yeah.
I love to be around people that have this thing in their life. Not because they never make mistakes, not because they never do the wrong thing, or say the wrong thing to me, or treat me poorly from time to time, but because they will almost immediately come back and make up for it.
Yeah.
Because I matter to them.
Yeah.
Or I feel like I do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I may not matter that much to you because we really don't know each other that closely, but I feel like I matter to you.
You do matter to me.
And you matter to me.
And I think that that's another really great touch on the brotherly love principle of it all, right? You don't have to have a super tight-knit relationship with somebody to fucking care about them.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Just being able to practice that you're a human. I care about who you are and how you feel.
Yeah.
Right? What a great way to treat everybody.
Everyone.
Everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a very small amount of people that get the complete me because that's all I have time for.
Yeah.
My wife is by far the person that I want to spend the majority of my time with from now to the rest of my days, right? Yeah. By far. The only person that I make sure I'm with more than I'm not. The rest kind of floating through my life, including my kids, right? Including my children, who I don't think I've ever experienced unconditional love like I do with my children, but they're now grown and they're off doing their lives.
Living their own.
And I love that for them. Both of them, very different lives. And I am so proud and so very happy of both of them for their own things, right? And doing what they love. And they come in and out of my life as we make time for, as they make time for. Like my oldest daughter, just stayed with me for the entire period of Stampede because they were on her and her fiance. They're getting
exciting.
Pretty awesome. He's a good guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They stayed with us because they took holidays and they're stampeding and stuff. And at the end, she's like, "Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't spend a whole bunch of time with you." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "Don't you sweat it for 1 second. I just love you being around. I just love every minute that I get to see you and know that you're around. You know, I don't have to have you by my side the entire time just because you're staying at the house. That's your home. You come and stay here whenever you want. Like, you have a key. You know the codes. Just come.
Just come over.
Just come.
Yeah.
It's your house.
Yeah.
It's your home. And it's your guy's home now too, right? So you don't have to be with me every day. Go do your thing. Be with your friends. I love that for you.
Yeah.
You know, so people, they rotate in and they rotate out. There's a very small amount of people that are very, very important. And the rest I just want to treat with kindness.
Right.
I guess is where I was. Sorry, long drawn off.
That's fine.
I veered off onto a thing about my daughter, but yeah, just treating people with kindness and brotherly love, compassion, care.
And I also really related to what you just said about where your time goes, right? And it's interesting. There's been times in the recent past, I guess probably in the last year or two, it has been brought to my attention from other fellows. Where were you here? Why didn't you attend this? Where were you doing that? And I can only talk from my own experience and my own beliefs, my own opinions on that. Extracurricular things served me well when I had no good friends in my life and I had nothing but meetings and step work. You know, like it was a way to bring me some connection and some fellowship. But when you really give this thing everything you have and allow God to help you move away from addiction or alcoholism, your life gets really fucking good. And there has to, and like that's why I did the episode with Crystal on balance, like trying to figure everything out. But like, no, My boyfriend works out of town and he's only home on weekends right now. No, I don't want to go to the sober dance. I want to sit on the couch with my boyfriend and cuddle and watch a movie and have some quality time together.
Totally.
It's not that my program is slipping. It's not that I don't want to hang out with all you guys. It's that I have times and places of the things that matter. And now that I have this beautiful life, I have to keep watering it. And it is interesting because I've had some people be like, how come you're never at anything? Because those were really great for me when I needed them.
Exactly.
But because of them, I now have a core group of recovery friends that I watched what they did for a very long time. And now they are in my circle. I have, because of God and because of the 12 steps, the ability to have a healthy relationship with a fucking wonderful man that I want to spend time with.
Seemed really cool. I enjoyed it.
He's really cool.
Yeah.
He's really cool. Yeah. And it's just, that hit home a lot for me. Just that little small statement being like, hey, like I don't really do a lot of that stuff. Like,
but also people don't see and they don't need to see because I don't need them to see it anymore. Big statement there. I don't need them to see it anymore. Anonymous, if you will, without credit.
You don't need the validation.
I do other things to serve.
Right.
And, I'm going to keep that principle going right now by not telling you what it is. But I act in service on several other areas that most people just don't see because it's at a different level.
You know what's funny? When we first started talking today, we were opening up the conversation and I had one word jump in my head and then the conversation carried off. So I didn't bring it up, but it just came back and I love that. Principles in all our affairs, really, it just comes down in my belief to the single word of integrity.
Love integrity.
Right? Like, yes, it is a principle, but like, how do you do that? By trying to do the right thing no matter what, all the time. Doesn't matter who's watching or if no one's watching.
That's right.
Just try to do it right and just try to get better. That's it. Yeah. That's something that unfortunately we could use a lot more of in this world.
I gotta tell you, man, I love that you just said that because I was thinking about that in the shower today of all places. Thinking about us having a chat and the term or the saying, do the right thing when nobody's watching came into my mind. But then a whole bunch of other thoughts came into mind. Do I respect and speak highly of my wife when she's not around? What's the answer to that?
I hope hell yes.
Yeah. Have you ever heard me say a bad thing about my wife?
Never
you ever
once.
seen me flirt with a woman in the rooms?
Never once.
No, you have not.
Nope.
Why? Because I have integrity. I love my wife. I would never treat her that way when she's not looking.
Right.
Work, same thing. All the claims managers and the people, that send us work. My bosses are in Ontario. Okay. The owners of the company that I work for. And oddly enough, 3 years in, because of integrity, they gave me a partnership in, which I didn't even see coming.
Right.
You want to talk about infinitesimal mind compared to an infinite God, right? I mean, it's or finite self, excuse me, as opposed to infinite God. I had no idea. There was no thought for me for that, right? I had no thought.
Just randomly side-blinded by it.
But doing the right thing, showing up, that was a gift to me.
Right.
It was crazy.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, in the first year, I joined their team and the entire rest of the management team was fired because they were robbing them blind, okay? And they were just wrecking the company. And I'm sure that that the owners of this company were very anxious, and that's probably an understatement, to get more sales, to get numbers and revenue in the books, to get things happening as quickly as possible because they were hemorrhaging money.
Right.
Okay. And I, after only being there for 60 days, I had to audit 42 files or something.
Jesus.
Yeah, I just had to look at them all and go through and report. And I did that, and they said, we got to get marketing. We got to start making sales. We got to get on lists. We got to do this. And I stopped them, and I said, listen, you guys are not going to be happy to hear this. What? that's the wrong move for our first year. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, I don't believe that sales and marketing should even come into our first thought at all this year. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, well, we've got 42 files that are open, and some have been paid completely but never started. Some have been started and only gotten to halfway, and they've been sitting for 6 months, and people are upset. And some have never been started. Some have been started with quotes, but then understood that there was need for more supplemental quoting because it was quoted improperly, and they needed more quotes. And I mean, this is all through Alberta, and this is with several companies.
Well, you finish what you started.
Finish what you started.
Love that.
Make these people whole first.
Love that.
If you are ever going to regain any type of a reputation in this province, you have to show integrity. And they did not like hearing it because it meant a difficult year. Another difficult year.
Yeah.
But they agreed. And they said, okay, Gord, do it. And that's what we did. 5 years later, we are esteemed in this industry, and people respect and trust us. I didn't say we didn't make mistakes. We still make mistakes. We still have issues.
Yeah.
We're a business. But we try and set ourselves above.
Right.
And we try and always act with integrity. And we've proven that time and time and time again. So the failures of the past no longer exist in the conversations of the present. It's pretty beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's really cool.
And it's all because I get to take this thing into that thing.
Right. It's interesting to think back to like just active addiction days and where my head was at and how awful it was. Like it's interesting to go from that to coming to these rooms and learning that there's a different way. Like I if there's anything that I really hope people take from this episode is trying to apply this stuff in every area, because I think my first 2 years, I really was just trying. I mean, it's normal, right? You got to do the thing in one area, right? I just want to stop using drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
I just want to not kill myself anymore. I just want to be okay. But a lot of people sit in that and kind of coast from there. And when I call it leveling up, right? Every time I try to allow God to mold me into the next thing that he has waiting for me, and every time I do the work that surrounds that, like it's just, the transition is a completely different, I feel different than I did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And it's really cool because of things like integrity. I might make mistakes and I might mess up, but I know to my core that every morning I get on, I pray to God and I say, thank you for everything you've given me. I ask for direction. I ask for guidance. I try my best. And I know that it doesn't matter who's watching. I just try to be a little better every day. And the result of that is such a gift. What a gift.
That's what grace is.
And yeah, and peace, right? Like I never understood serenity, right? In the beginning, I'm like, okay, cool. I don't obsess about drugs and alcohol anymore. Okay, cool. Now you want me to teach people? Fuck, I don't even know if I know how to do that. Oh my God. Okay, cool. Like what is this peace and serenity piece, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a cool feeling though, isn't it?
It's a really, really cool feeling to, and you know what's so funny? Like when I get excited, when I have too much caffeine, when I'm really passionate, like I can revert back to being very loud, very flamboyant. I've always been very extroverted. I can get excited. I'm also very animated.
Me too.
But at the same time, there's this calmness that I never had before. And that's literally because I do everything in my fucking power every day to keep my connection to God. And God allows me to feel at home and at peace no matter what I do. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And I wish that more people would allow him to come in and help them level up.
I love that you just said that. It's something I needed to hear today. You talked about getting excited and flamboyant. I'm the same way. I'm a very much an extrovert. Um, Today, I'm more of an extrovert that needs time to himself once in a while to recharge,
Yep.
which I'm learning is okay as
Yep.
well, but very much an extrovert. And I get excited when I'm with people I love and when I'm doing things that I want it to be the best for those people. Example, little story. I was July long weekend. It was Canada Day.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the shoe swap with my father-in-law and mother-in-law and my wife, and we were going to watch the fireworks. And I'm driving them around. We go down to the beach, and it's just packed. So we're like, what do you want to do, Dad? And he's like, well, let's go around up. And he told me where to park, and it seemed like I had the direction. I should have listened to the old man, right? Because it's his neighborhood. He knows what's going on, right? But I'm all excited. I can get us closer. I can get a better view. And I pull the truck in, and it just ended up being terrible.
Hmm.
And you know, I agitated him because I wasn't listening to him.
Yep.
And I had to apologize the next morning. I said, look, man, I'm sorry. I get a little excited. I mean well, but I still get a little excited sometimes, and it get away from me. It gets away from me.
Yeah.
He's like, it's okay, bud. We had a good time, right? And I'm like, yeah, I hate that. I hate that part. Like I used to be really in your face, and
Oh, me too.
I try really hard to keep that on the back burner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it crops up, I don't like it much, but it's all learning. Putting these principles into all our affairs. And I like how you're bringing that around to that, because we talked about that, right? I mean, I think that's the importance of something like this. This podcast is to teach, or to, I don't want to say teach, to share what we've gained with people that haven't yet.
Right.
I think it's a better way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
It did spend me a bit. But I spent years looking through God's eyes to see what I wanted in life. And what I wanted in life was just to be more peaceful, because I loved that feeling. So I find today, when I'm not as peaceful, it's a lot easier to recognize. And it's a lot easier to shift gears, if you will. But I remember in the early days, it took me a long time to figure things out. So that meant I suffered for a lot longer. And a lot of people don't have the capacity to suffer that length of time before they go back and relapse.
Yep.
And nowadays, that can be a death wish, a death sentence, if you will. A lot of people dying out there.
Oh, the drugs are awful on the street right now.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
I can't believe it. But put these principles into your life. Be honest with yourself. Understand that there's hope through people like Jen and myself. Have some faith. Even if it in the moment is just faith that you did it, so why can't I? That makes sense. A blind faith, if you will. Because for me, that's all it was in the beginning. I didn't have any ability or capacity for anything more than blind faith. But I trusted that my sponsor stayed sober. I trusted that he repaired his life and became a good person. So I had to trust that could happen for me, even though I didn't believe it at the time.
I was so cocky. I wanted to prove that everyone else was wrong, and it didn't work.
I know people like you.
Yeah. Fuck that. Absolutely not. There is no God. You want me to try? I'll try. It's not going to work though. And then I tried.
Crazy, right?
And my world changed completely.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Thanks, universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Courage, perseverance, brotherly love, humility,
acceptance,
integrity,
hope,
service. Being of service has been one of the greatest gifts of my life.
Oh my God, yes.
Helping others.
Yes.
I would rather help others than help myself today. My wife sees it.
Mm.
We were at Home Depot. This is honesty. You want to talk integrity? We're at Home Depot, and I bought lumber. I'm working on my garage, and I'm making these racking systems for the totes, to hang from the ceiling, which is great.
Great space saver.
Awesome, loving it. And my wife noticed that 4 of the 12-foot 2x4s didn't get charged on the receipt. Now, my wife's always been that person.
Mm-hmm.
She's always been that person, kind, loving, honest, endearing, just a beautiful human, right? And I'm not sure how she linked up with me, because it wasn't a good match in the beginning, I don't think. But it worked out. She loves today that I'm that guy now, too. And she said, oh, I don't think they charge us for everything. And I'm like, I'm sure they did more, because I didn't want to go back in the store. It's hot. And I just want to go home.
Yep.
I'm like, show me. So I went and counted it.
Oh, shit.
In a huff, went and counted. I'm like, go back to the truck. You're right. Give me a minute. She's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, honey. Actually, that was the day that that was July 7th. I turned 8 years sober that day. And
happy 8.
Thanks. I looked at her and said, I'm not going to be dishonest on my sobriety birthday. Like a total dick.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's like kind of selfish, but I love it.
Totally
right? For selfish reasons, but the selfish reasons still result in the universe being a little better, right? Like,
yes.
But I mean, sponsorship at its core is selfish too, right? We're told we stay well by giving it away. I need you more than you need me.
Totally.
That's amazing.
But at the end of the day, I knew it was the right thing to do.
Right.
And that's just from practice. So back to in our affairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our business has grown because I have incorporated these things into my affairs, including being of service to the people that work there. Spending time, even when I don't have it, with people that work there.
Yeah.
When they need me. Home life. When my daughter wants something, I spend. When they need my time, I spend that. When my wife needs me, she lets me know I'm there. My life, I don't know about balance. Maybe this is something I'll learn years later. I don't know. I'm not there yet, maybe. But where I'm at today is there isn't really any true balance, except that intuitive thought, that understanding of what's going on around you, and recognizing what needs your attention now.
Yeah. Being
in this moment a little bit more. I think that's as close to balance as I get.
But in practicing these principles in all your affairs, you found a balance because you were able to get that gut feeling. You were able to see the priorities and what really matters to you in your life.
Exactly.
Right? By working the program, balance was attained on its own.
That's right. Everyone thinks that balance is everyone's happy at work, everyone's happy at home, my friends are happy, everything's here. But that's never going to be the case.
For me, balance was trying to not put all of my eggs into one basket every single time. Right? Like meetings, recovery. No family, no home, no connection, no friends. Right? Work. Recovery is lacking, no friends, no family. Right? Like I was very good at giving my all, but only to one thing.
Yeah.
So how do I learn how to allow God to teach me how to make it manageable? Because when I try to manage it, I fuck everything up.
Right.
But a lot of tips and tricks I learned along the way, but really it just comes down to when you do the work, right? When we straighten out spiritually, we straighten out mentally and physically a lot of the time, right? The book says that.
We become able to be in the moment
Mm-hmm.
more.
Yes.
And when I'm in the moment, I put my focus on what's in front of me.
Being present is one of the greatest gifts God's ever given me.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it was possible.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's a good life we have.
It's a great life we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's important that people hear about principles. They hear about, not just being a good guy in a meeting.
Yes.
It's about stop acting like a tough guy when you leave the meeting, but there's some hot chick standing next to you. You don't need to act like a tough guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Don't come to the meeting talking about how much you've grown doing your 4 and your 5, trying to become better, and then go bash the person that you thought was not as good looking as you. And you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, I totally know what you mean.
gossiping, bullying, like,
Yeah.
don't put on the recovery face that you're doing it all, but you're only pretending, or you're just doing it in regards to what works for you.
Right.
Not trying to better humanity. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a time thing or if that's an exposure thing. If we're exposed to it more, do we learn it faster, or does it just take time and a bit of pain to really recognize we need it? I'm not sure.
We have the ism, so pain is always required.
Yeah.
Right? I think there's
wrong.
also a certain amount of willingness that's needed, but I do think that exposure is important. And I'll give you an example from a meeting. I don't know if you were there. One of the coolest things that I've seen all year.
Yeah.
It humbled me up pretty well because I think my brain and my integrity was leaning to the right side, but I didn't know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was handled very beautifully by a fellow. So
Cool.
what had happened was, so at our meeting that you're familiar with, podium style, and the chairperson will ask someone to speak. So the chairperson asked this woman to speak. She came up and she spoke, and she was very new. Didn't have any idea what she was talking about, which is fine.
Yeah.
Right? Shared some things that she was really proud of. I think that's great. She shared on how she didn't have her boyfriend with her, who was also in recovery. They're both brand new. Didn't have her boyfriend with her, and was able to see her independence. It was a very positive share. It was great.
Neat.
It was really cool to see somebody that new get that kind of perspective.
Sure.
But she sat down and the boyfriend got up and immediately went to the podium without being asked to share. And his share wasn't negative towards her in any way. It was just very, I don't even know what to say, just misguided and like just a little prideful, right?
Yeah, you can feel it. Yeah.
What do you expect, right? Especially like given the situation. There was some crosstalk which should not happen in our meeting by members that surprised me. In my opinion, not super spiritual, I guess you could say. Like there wasn't like something like super aggressive, but it was just like, oh my gosh, like you don't even know what you're saying. Just go sit down.
Oh.
Right. You shouldn't be up there, right? Like get someone do something about this. There was a couple of comments. And I was so uncomfortable because I didn't know. I was angry at the people who should know better. Because they don't know anything. And if you think that they know something, like I was in the program for 3 years before I actually believed I knew
anything.
A little.
Yeah.
Right? And the more that I know, the more I realize I fucking still don't know anything.
I don't know anything.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there was this guy, I believe he was from out of town. God sent him to us. And
No kidding.
God sent him to us. And he said, I don't even know, I could never do it justice, but he essentially had said, I think that there needs to be, like, it was very lovingly tactful way of being like, you fucked up. Like, it was very well spoken. And it was just essentially being like, if you think for 1 second that it's okay to talk to someone who's brand new here, who is not being shown brotherly love, who's not being taught, you can't expect this person to know what's going on. And I think that we all need to take a cold, hard look at ourselves and understand that we have a lot of work to do if we think that it's their job to know what to do. It's our job to teach them what to do, and it's our job to take care of them and walk the walk and do all these things. Giving myself goosebumps just remembering it, because I remember everything's about me. I'm an addict. So immediately I felt guilty, right? Put myself in that self-pity. Fuck, I should have done something. Fuck, I should have known better. Oh, I should have picked this up faster. And then I stopped. And one of the greatest gifts of practicing these principles in all of my affairs is that today I look at life and I don't say, why is this happening to me? I say, what is God trying to teach me through this experience? And I sat there and I said, Kate, get that shit no morbid reflection. Listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's trying to teach you how to apply all of these things in every aspect, especially one that's in a meeting. But it was so fascinating to see how tactfully he delivered this message.
I love that.
Of get your shit together. It's our job to lead the way for these people.
Yeah.
Because if it was me, I would have been like, get your fucking shit together. Like I wish I had a tape recorder. Would never do that. We're in an anonymous meeting, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's something that will stay with me forever, but I'll never be able to do it justice how he delivered the message that he did. And that was clearly straight from God, and I needed to hear it.
That's cool, because you were in that moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new people struggle, right? I mean, I remember hearing old timers say things like, yeah, I remember you guys, I don't know how you put up with me when I first started. And these guys, 30, 40 years sobriety, right? And they're like, I don't know how you put up with me when I came around here, but you did. You know, sometimes, you know, you'd see me after the meeting and you'd say, okay, well, you're just going to, you know, take the cotton batting out of your ears and put it in your mouth next meeting. But you never embarrassed me, and you told me to listen. You know, you let me vent and say things that were probably pretty embarrassing if I look back on it now. And nobody judged me. You loved me until I can love myself, right? And that gave me hope. Because, man, when I showed up to meetings, I cried a lot. And I'm a 6'3" guy. You know, right now I'm actively over 250 pounds. So I'm a pretty big guy. Always was. When I first started coming around, I wasn't that big. But that was because I was sick. Really, really sick. But I couldn't stop crying. And I said a lot of stupid shit because I didn't know any better. And I needed to just try and get the pain out, or the embarrassment out, or the shame out. And you guys all let me do that. And the gift that I was given when people would approach me after the meeting and say, hey, you okay? And hey, I'm glad you're okay. But, you know, maybe just talk to your sponsor about those things. Not maybe in a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, love you and I'm here for you. But, you know, the meetings are to take
Provide
the message and hope, not talk about, you know, that kind of stuff. That's what we're for after the meeting. And you gently taught me how to behave. My treatment facility, which I won't name because it's traditions, but they taught me how to speak in meetings. Talk about yourself, not you this and you that and they this and you should do this. It's about you.
I statements.
I statements only.
Yep.
They taught me that. This is very important. I don't know about you, but when I started coming around,
don't tell me what to do.
I didn't want anyone telling me what to do.
Yep.
That was the biggest part of my problem was I bucked authority. Well,
we're also terminally unique, right? I know everything. You don't know shit.
Yeah.
You have no idea what it's like to be me. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So gentle people that had these things, these principles in their lives, it becomes pretty obvious.
Well, and it's really cool that you just brought that up, is that brings me to touch on the honesty piece, right? I was taught the same thing, how to and how not to share at a meeting, but my defects took it, and I've talked about this before, to a very far extreme, as my brain loves to do. And I felt that it was my job to only talk about the solution and only talk about the good sides of everything, because it was my job to show other people that the program worked, because it does. Right. And because of that, it was lacking a lot of honesty in the rooms about being human and about struggling or about making mistakes or going through pain. And I will never forget the first time that I actually went to a really, really big down dip. I went to a meeting and I just imploded. I just cried and I was honest. And I ended with something that now is a staple for me every time I have a cry share, which is, yes, I'm struggling, but I'm doing the thing and God's in my life, and picking up is not an option for me. It's not something I'm not even thinking about.
No doubt.
But a girl came up to me after the meeting and she said, it was life-changing for me. I still remember who she is too. She said, I can't believe you just said that. And at first I was like, oh God, should I not have said that?
Uh-oh.
And she said, I was starting to think this program wasn't for me.
Oh.
Because everybody comes in this room all happy and joyous and free talking about how well the program works. And I've been struggling for a while. And I started to think that maybe the solution wasn't here because no one else seems to struggle. Hearing you talking about what you're going through has let me know that I'm actually not alone and that maybe I am in the right place.
Right on.
And it was just this beauty. But now being able to ask God for the courage and the guidance to be able to deliver it in the right way, I think is important. Because we still want to be solution-based. But I have no problem crying in front of anybody today. Right? Any meeting. If I got something going on, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to cry, but I'm going to tell you that I still have no desire to use drugs and alcohol because I don't.
Yeah, and I also try and I try to recognize what I need to be working on while I'm sharing my garbage, right? Because I've struggled too from time to time. And not nearly as much as I used to, but it happens, right? And I'm sure it'll happen a lot more in the future. You know,
You're
people
human.
will die. People will harm me. People will upset me.
Life has struggles. It's a part of it.
Life is rough. I'm going through something today, actually, as of last night. And we touched on it before this, but, you know, I won't get into great detail, but my mom's suffering today. And, you know, it's angered me.
It's hard to watch someone you care about struggle.
It's angered me towards someone who I love, and that I feel is harming my mom. And the best thing I can do right now is stay out of it, be there for my mom. That's it. That's all. Because anything else I bring right now is not going to be positive. And it's not going to be what should happen. It's not going to be God because I'm angry. And so when I talk about this stuff in a meeting, I just try and teach myself while I'm talking what I'm supposed to be remembering. And people can see me working through it. That's solution. I'm suffering. I'm still suffering. I'm the still suffering alcoholic. But I'm the still suffering alcoholic that's trying to figure things out, and I have a group of people that I want to let know what's going on with me so that they can help me figure it out.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing that happens.
Yeah.
Organically when we share our struggles.
Yeah. Being honest about what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Understanding that if you are sharing it with a group like us, like there's never any judgment. It's just, oh my God, I'm so glad you told me. How can we help?
That's amazing.
Right?
That's amazing.
I had no idea you were struggling. What can I do?
Yeah.
Right? That's the response I've always gotten from my pillars when I'm honest. And so that's what I try to pass on to other people, which is why as soon as I'm like, holy shit, is that Gord? Fucking, hello?
Yeah, or the orange heart.
Right?
Yeah. You okay, dude? Anything I can do? It's integrity.
Yeah.
It's being of service. Those are principles in our affairs. I'm struggling today, but guess what? I'm applying these principles in these affairs as best I can. I may not be applying them the way they're supposed to be applied right now because I'm in the middle of it.
But you're trying.
My sponsors taught me that the hardest point, and I think you talked about this, the hardest point is recognizing self when I'm in the middle of it. I can't see it.
Nope.
And that's why step 10s are so good, because I get to talk to someone I trust, and they can either listen to me until I see it, or they can guide me to it as I need it.
The analogy that was always given to me that I just love is that when I'm in it, I'm only ever going to see the branch, right? Talking with someone else is going to help me find the root. You can cut off as many branches as you want.
I've never heard that before. That's great.
Yeah. Cut off all the branches. It's still going to keep happening because you have to get to the root.
Somebody get me a chainsaw.
No, you got to get a shovel. Got to get that root out.
There you go.
Chainsaw's just the
I
branch.
still want that chainsaw. Okay, Jason, calm down.
Oh, wait. Or is that the other one? Oh, that is Jason. Oh, my gosh.
I love those movies.
Right?
Yeah, I did.
I'm cool. I think we covered a lot.
This has been great. Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me. I really enjoyed this. I needed this
Good.
today.
Good.
This couldn't have come at a better time. Like literally some stuff happened last night and we're going through it and this is exactly where I needed to be this morning. So now I can go and I can apply these principles in all my affairs with my mom and be of service to her today. So I'm going to take my dogs and go visit her because she needs a dog in her life today. Well,
let's go get a dog tour then.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll have you on another time.
Would love to. Yeah,
Amazing.
This is really great. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Gord.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time, guys. Peace.